Ciao, I'm Anna Harsh, professional dancer, author, and host of the Dance Floor podcast, the podcast that offers you advice, tips, and unique ways to find those life lessons that improve our lives. So grab your dance shoes and join me on the dance floor. Welcome back, everyone, to the Dance Floor podcast. I'm your host, Anna Harsh, and today I have a very special guest, Andrew Berger Gross, a mandolinist, guitarist, and longtime explorer of traditional American and Italian folk music. Andrew, welcome to the Dance Floor.
Thank you, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here.
I had the honor and pleasure of dancing while you were playing recently in Apex, North Carolina at Festa Italiana, and you guys were great. We had so many musicians on the stage that were jumping in to do a little improv while we were doing tarantella lessons. So I really appreciated your time and expertise on the stage for sure. But how did you get into playing the mandolin that day?
So, I have long been on a musical journey. When I was a child, I started off playing woodwinds, in particular the saxophone. When I was in college and in my 20s, I got very into traditional music, in particular the traditional music of the southeastern United States. And what I was attracted to the most was Black string band music from Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, and very often this music was in the format of guitar and mandolin duets, with the mandolin playing the melody and the guitar playing a rhythm section. Very much like a ragtime piano, where the right hand will play a syncopated, danceable melody and the left hand will play a pulsating rhythm. That's very analogous to the role of the mandolin and the guitar in southeastern United States string band music. And there was just something about the sound of the mandolin that appealed to me as somebody who had played a melody instrument through most of my life, the saxophone being a melody instrument.
Right.
It was pretty intuitive to me. And there was something very danceable about the sound of the ragtime mandolin, the blues mandolin, that in particular attracted me.
Yeah, I have to say the sound it really does pick you up and it makes you want to move. I don't know if it's the pitch or tone of it or the warmth of the instrument, but for me, that's what it is. It feels like a pick me up.
For
So,
sure. I think very much the staccato nature of the mandolin attack, as opposed to the smooth legato of a bow traveling over a violin string, something
right.
about the way that the mandolin is plucked, I think really is suitable to dance music.
For sure. And how did you get involved with the Oak City Serenaders? Is that your group or how did you get involved with them?
So the current lineup for what we are calling the Oak City Serenaders are my good friends Sam Harris from Raleigh, North Carolina, and Micah Bowen from the town of Coates, North Carolina, down in Harnett County. And we all came together through a mutual love of Southern string band music, country music, ragtime in particular. And it's really only recently, over the past couple of years, that all three of us have together started on this adventure of getting into Italian mandolin music.
Wow. Well, you guys sounded fantastic at the festival. And I know all of us were just really impressed with all of your skills and talent, of course, but just the great stories that you were telling and the behind the scenes and history to every song or composer. Can you just give us a sample of what you were sharing with the audience?
For sure. So we are an eclectic bunch of artists. We play various string band genres from various national traditions. In terms of the Italian music that we play music that comes from, I'd say, three distinct traditions. One of which is sometimes referred to as the ballo liscio tradition, or translated as smooth dancing. These were dances that were popular in Central Europe in particular, the waltz, the polka, the mazurka, that became very popular in northern Italy, made their way down to southern Italy, and traveled with the wave of mass migration to the United States in the late 1800s. In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, anywhere you saw a large concentration of Italian immigrants, Rhode Island, New York, Philadelphia, the Bay Area of California, these publishing houses would emerge that would be producing waltzes, mazurkas, polkas that were composed with I'd say, a distinctively Italian flavor, and very often had two names that alluded to places in Italy or topics that were of interest to the Italian immigrant community at that time. We also play a number of tunes from the Sicilian barbershop tradition that have been passed down to us both through the work of folklorists as well as through the oral tradition. And
Wow.
finally, we play a number of melodies that we learned from the generation of Italian American string virtuosi who were recorded in the United States in the 1920s. People like Giovanni Vicari, people like Giovanni Gioviale, and people like Frank Fazio. Now, at this point in time, I gather there were just so many very talented string musicians in the United States that in order to distinguish themselves, these individuals needed to not only be talented instrumentalists, but also composers so that they could bring new, beautiful melodies that could distinguish themselves from their competitors. And some of these melodies are, I'd say, some of our favorite to play.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, we loved the show. It was so inviting to get up and dance, of course, to listen to you guys play and move. But also, like I said, the stories behind it, the history, as a dance instructor, I always am looking up and researching history of dances and music. And that just appealed to me. So I definitely wanted you on the dance floor so that other dancers could learn from you and get a little taste of what that time period was like and all of those dances that you mentioned, the waltz, the mazurka, that I've studied for years and just really enjoy. But it was really nice to hear it live. There's just nothing like live music for sure for dance. So I'm
Absolutely.
hoping that you have a little advice maybe for other musicians that want to play for dancers or want to do something like what we did, a true improvisation of you didn't know what dances really, stepwise or tempo that I was going to do. And I wasn't sure exactly what you guys were going to play, but it all worked out. Do you have advice for those musicians that want to do something like that and work together and collaborate?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This is something that I've thought about for a long time. But to tell you the truth, that festa, the Festa Italiana North Carolina that we played with you in Apex, North Carolina, that was our first time actually playing Italian music for dancers. And we did play some real indigenous Italian dances, did we not? We
Right.
played the tarantella
Oh, yeah.
and the pizzica, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys were great. I was just like, this is wonderful live. It was something that I hadn't experienced in a really long time. And I was thrilled. I just turned around and went, gosh, I want to collect you guys all up and take you back home with me because, for a dancer, that's really the energy that we crave. We want that back and forth conversation that we were talking about backstage between the musician and a dancer, but
Mhm.
also with the audience too. I think the audience got a taste and was able to tap into our conversation that we were having live.
For sure. And I think those are wonderful insights. So while that was the first time that I'd played Italian or Italian American type music for dancers, I have over the last 20 years had a lot of experience playing Southern string band music for dancers in square dances, which
Right.
are still very popular in the southeastern United States in places like Tennessee and North Carolina and
Oh,
Virginia. And what I'd say for aspiring musicians is these days, a lot of beginner musicians, they learn alone with a
mm,
book, with a YouTube video, maybe if they're lucky with the benefit of the instructor. And
right.
that can be a good environment for learning some of the mechanical fundamentals of learning your instrument. But you're
Right.
really not playing music until you're playing with others. So the first form of musical conversation that one must learn is how to play with other musicians, to listen to them, to play off them, to have a musical conversation in whatever genre you're playing. It doesn't have to be a improvisational genre like jazz. It can even be a genre that in theory is more formalized, like classical music. Even there is very much a conversation between you and your fellow musicians in terms of the dynamics, the tempo, and the feel of what you're playing. After that is playing for an audience. And yes, you got to watch how the audience is reacting and calibrate what you're playing to their mood and their reactions. And finally, my favorite thing in the world is playing for dancers, especially percussive dancers. In the Southern
Yeah.
string band tradition, what's sometimes called flat footing or buck dancing is it is a percussive dance. The dancers are using their feet as a rhythm instrument. Very often, I'll find myself play a little syncopated riff on the mandolin, and I'll see the dancer reflecting what I play in their feet. And then they'll throw a new rhythm at me. Well, I better respond in kind because that's just good manners, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I had a band director back in high school, back in jazz band, and he told me when you're playing in a band, you got to watch your dancers. And he told me in a very colorful phrase, you got to keep your eyes on that booty.
For sure, you do.
watch the way those hips are shaking, because that's
right.
going to tell you how you should respond in kind as a musician.
That's hilarious, but very true. Yeah, you want to have that conversation back and forth. And I thought that was really fun. We had so many musicians along with yourself, jumping in, especially the second workshop that we taught down there. I turned around and went, wow, we've grown as a band. And so it was wonderful to get a full sound. And I think the audience, that was a real treat for them, as well as myself and my partner, to have that conversation with the audience and be able to teach them these rhythms and these beautiful dances that are thousands of years old, that we got a chance to play with you guys and bring it to life and bring it to fruition there at the Festa. I really appreciated it. And I was so glad that you came on the podcast to talk about it and share some of your insights as well. So what's next for you guys? Where will you be next? Or what are you guys going to play for next?
Well, none of the three of us are particularly ambitious in our musical lives. All of us have personal lives and obligations and responsibilities that we attend to. Music is something, at least at this point in our life, that we're doing recreationally and socially. We play locally in our region, and sometimes we'll travel to other parts of North Carolina. For folks who are interested in following the work of the Oak City Serenaders, they can follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Oak City Serenaders.
I will include that, Andrew, in my post for the podcast, and so that people can follow you guys and listen to your beautiful sounds and collaborations together. And I hope we get to work together again sometime, somewhere at a festival, and connect as well. Tell us again a little bit about your backstory before we go. How did you?
Sure.
You're from New York originally, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how did you end up in North Carolina?
Several different factors.
Jobs and
life and music. The life component was my partner at the time, who I had met in New York, had family in Tennessee and in South Carolina and wanted to relocate to the South. And it was around that same period of time that I was getting very interested in the traditional music of the South. And I was starting to make trips to the southeastern United States to attend fiddlers conventions. And I was just taken aback by how fundamentally kind every single person I met was, how they looked me in the eye and treated me like family, which, I don't know how things are in Pittsburgh, but in New York, that's a very alien sense. And I found it very comforting.
Yeah.
And while I grew up as a New York City kid and never thought I'd leave the city, spending time in the Southeast, and of course, with the encouragement of my partner at the time, Sarah, I thought, this is an environment that I could get used to. And I've been in the Southeastern United States for about 15 years, most of my adult life. And I love the people, I love the pace, I love the culture, the food, and the music. I still have friends and family up in New York, and I visit them about twice per year. But I have really blossomed as a musician and artist here in the Southeast in a way that I don't think would have been possible in the dog-eat-dog world of New York City. There's a lot more community music making in where I live now compared to where I used to live in New York City, where music was a lot more of a professional enterprise.
I can relate to that. I can definitely see that. I've danced and performed in North Carolina several times, and I feel that as well. Like you just, when you get down there, you do feel like family, and you do meet friends that kind of circle around you and allow you to play, and collaborate in their circle and not feel like an alien, or something strange coming out of from outer space or something. So it was nice to get down there and meet with friends and collaborate. So I can see that. We all have our journeys, don't we? Andrew, last question. What do you think is
Sure.
the biggest life lesson that music has taught you?
Whew, that is a good question. So, in some of our earlier exchanges, you talked about maybe offering some advice for the next generation of musicians. So, during the first phase of my musical journey, I studied music formally I went to a music high school, I went to a conservatory of music. I saw music as a profession, as
Yeah,
a competition, as something that you needed to be the best at. That's something you
got it.
needed to find achievement in. And it was
Mm,
only when I got into folk music, into traditional music, when my role models as musicians, all of them, some of them were very, very accomplished, talented musicians, but that wasn't all they were. They were
mm,
also farmers, mechanics, and bus drivers, and school teachers, and fathers and mothers and Christians and hunters and participated actively in their community. And I saw that as a much more fulfilling way to live my musical life rather than having music be something that I either succeed or fail at. It
mm.
was something that complemented a much more well-rounded existence. So I
Right.
would say for those folks who had the same kind of musical upbringing that I did, that was very kind of high pressure, know that there is a path for you to have an artistic life where you can explore all of your creative impulses and needs and do so in communion with friends and family, but not have it have to be the sole focus of your life. You can do that. There are many occupations, professions out there that allow you to, in the evenings or over the summer or over the vacation or over a summer vacation, explore the creative side of yourself. And that's okay. That is a fine way to live.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Andrew. I feel the same way about dance. Dance can be very competitive, and I've had dancers that have competed. I've competed myself in the past, and when I found folk dance, I have to say it became more of a community feel, and I became a storyteller, and I think
Hmm.
that's where I loved dance as a vehicle for storytelling. I think that's some of the life lessons that I learned through dance as well as music as well, that it is a language that we can share without words. So,
Absolutely. And, to speak things plainly, it is more difficult to make a living as a musician now than it was 100 years ago when the only entertainment a person could find was through a hired musician. Now people
right.
can get music through their computer. They can even get artificially intelligence created music, right? And yes,
Yeah, but it's not the same.
it's definitely not the same, but it does impact the economic viability of music
Sure.
as a profession. But that
Sure.
doesn't mean music is going to die. Humanity has always had music, whether or not we have had a professional class of musicians or dancers for that matter.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's nothing better than hearing music live or actually being in the room where dance is happening, because you feel the energy and you get fed off of that energy. And so I think that will always last forever because you can't change that. That's just something that will always be there. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And gosh, I hope we connect again soon and collaborate. I have a lot of sheet music that I want to send you, and think about maybe collaborating in the future for something else, perhaps.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it. Okay, everyone. If you want to follow Andrew, don't forget to follow him on Instagram with the Oak City Serenaders. Thanks, everyone, for listening today. I'm Anna Harsh with the Dance Floor Podcast. And until next time, keep moving forward on the dance floor.